Y'all ready for some big brain stuff? Codenames has you covered, because it's a game all about secrecy, clues, codes, and whatever other spy buzzwords you can think of. Here's some advice about picking right melons. Picking one can make the rest taste better, but picking too many can cause the whole vine to stop making melons at all. What's that have to do with anything? I don't know, but your clue is Hong Kong 8,152,019. You go figure it out. Intro!
The Heavy is a spy! What?
Codenames is a word association game where two teams of spies have to figure out clues given by their team's spy masters. The game takes about 15 minutes, which is a complete lie, by the way, and seats 2 to 8 players. As a bunch of sneaky spies, your objective is to guess a certain amount of words correctly from a 5x5 grid of cards laid out on the table. Only the spy masters know which of those words in the middle belong to their team, and they have to get their team to guess which ones are correct using only one-word clues. Thematically, each word in the middle is actually just a random passerby in the middle of the street, and the teams are trying to contact their own special agents amidst a crowd of people by identifying the agent's code name, hence the title. So let's take a look at what comes inside a game of the Codenames. So you got your instruction booklet, pretty standard. There's like a few pages of stuff in there. You got a metric crap ton of cards and a little stand. I think there's like 200 cards. This stand is to hold these other cards. Now, these cards are called decoder cards, if I remember right. Basically, it's a very big, fat square that you just stick inside the thingy, like that. Boom, and then you can prop it up, like so. Then, you got your tiles. These are gonna be split into 4 different colors. You have the black tile, and then you have all your blue tiles, and then you have all your gray neutral tiles, and you have all your red tiles. Actually, one more thing, there's also a double agent tile in here. So this is a red or a blue, and you use this to give it to the team that's going first in the game so they have an extra tile to work with. That's what's in the game. Oh wait, hold on. There's a timer. Okay, now that's everything that's in the game. To set up Codenames, pick 2 people to be spy masters. Those 2 people then pick red or blue as their team color. Everyone else picks a spy master's team to join. Then you're gonna set the board like this, in a 5x5 grid of cards laid out like so. You're gonna seat the normal players on one side of the table and the spy masters on the other. The spy masters get this little decoder card that has, look at it, a 5x5 grid on it that will tell you which cards in the middle belong to whose team, which ones are neutral, and also which one is the black agent, the assassin. So the spy masters are gonna get all of these tiles to set aside within easy access, easy reach. The objective for the team is to cumulatively guess all of their words before the other team does. So turns in this game are going to be taken by entire teams. So whichever team goes first is going to be denoted by the decoder card by just looking at the border. It will have either blue lights or red lights on it. The team that goes first is going to have 9 words in total instead of 8, because while there are 8 red tiles and 8 blue tiles, the double agent tile, which is double-sided, you just flip it over to the correct side and give it to the team going first. So on a turn, the spy master is going to go and look at their decoder card and the board. And then they're going to have to come up with a 1-word clue to describe as many words as they want that they want to clue their team in on. So when the spy master gives a clue, they also attach a number to it. That number is how many words that they want their team to guess. This means if they say country 2, then their team's going to look over the entire grid and try to find 2 words that match that clue. The team will then touch cards one at a time to indicate that that's their guess, and the spy master will cover chosen cards with the appropriate tile as denoted by the decoder. Bada bing ba boom. Teams can guess as many times as the number given with their clue, but they must immediately pass their turn if they touch anything that wasn't actually one of their cards. But bam, oh no, boom, it's our team's turn. It's entirely possible you can end up helping the other team by uncovering a card that was actually theirs. Even worse, you might touch the card that's the assassin, the black tile, and if you do that, your team immediately loses the game. If your team isn't sure about the clue, they can opt to pass the turn instead of using all their guesses. If they do this, they can guess one additional time next turn in an attempt to guess the clue that they missed. Players are going to repeat this process over and over until a team guesses all of their words. That team's going to win the game. On to the pros of Codenames. So this game does a lot of stuff really, really well. For starters, the gameplay forces everyone to get real creative with how they're going to be thinking about words and the way that those words relate to one another. It's pretty fun to think about those, wait, what if moments, when you really start to draw connections and you're like, whoa, dude, I'm big brain. And then it feels really good when you make a bunch of those correct guesses and you're like, oh, I did it. My inferences, they were right, whoa. On the flip side though, the Spy Master also gets to experience those big brain moments because they get to actually come up with the clues. They get to go like, oh, they got my clues. Oh. So yeah, next thing that Codenames does really well is the amount of content you're getting here. Like, my God, you have endless replayability. You got 200 double-sided word cards for 400 words total. And then you have 40 of these decoder cards and 4 ways to rotate them for 160 different setups. All right, there's no way in hell you're ever gonna run out of different combinations to play this game with. And also, because the cards are double-sided, it's really easy to start a new game because all you gotta do, you just flip everything over and then you're good to go. Next up, the player count is extremely flexible, all right? Codenames works very well at any player count, though the rules do get a little different with 2 to 3 people, but for 4 and up, it's by far one of the most accessible games out there. It doesn't even really need to stop at 8 players, even though the game's just 2 to 8 players. If you really want to, you can make each game as big as you goddamn want if for some reason you want to play Codenames for with a dozen people. Plus, players can hop in and out in the middle of the game just super easily, all right? Codenames is extremely just whatever about this, since it's just there's no points attached to any individual, it's just teams just doing stuff. Anecdotally, I recall a bunch of times in college, board game clubs, where people who showed up late would just hop into a game of Codenames in progress and then just dip out in the middle of it once another game was ready. I swear to God, there's been games where it's just the entire player base is rotated out at some point and only the Spy Masters were the same. It was funny as hell. Even if someone hops in without knowing what's going on, Codenames is incredibly simple to explain to them, all right? We got 2 teams with 2 clue givers. Our clue giver is gonna give us a word and a number, then we poke cards in the middle and see if we guess the word right with these words. It's goddamn, it's brilliant, okay? And then to top it all off, Codenames is dirt cheap, okay? I remember buying mine for $10. I think as of this review, it's 12 on Amazon, but typically Codenames is gonna cost anywhere from 10 to 15 bucks, which it's honestly a steal for what you're getting. Now, for the not so goods, the cons, the bads of Codenames. So unfortunately, the cost of having this thoughtful wordplay gameplay that lets people ruminate real hard on creative clues results in a lot of downtime for players as they wait for people to finish thinking and make a goddamn decision. Okay, part of what contributes to this is how there's 25 cards in the middle, which by all means is pretty insane to keep track of, especially at the start of the game. I have seen a ton of new Spy Masters kind of just blank out and take forever on giving a clue. And then when they finally do give the clue, they fuck it all up and forget about one of the enemy team's words on the grid that's related to the clue they just gave, or they just straight up forgot about the assassin. And then it just makes the whole wait feel pointless. A way to solve this could be to make the grid smaller and then make the game play in rounds, but even so, that would detract from the simplicity of currently just laying everything out and then being ready to go. And it also might reduce the potential pool of relatable cards you got to connect clues with. So I don't really think there's an elegant solution to this that wouldn't just mess up the core gameplay loop that much. But wait, you may say, Codenames has a sand timer to avoid problems like this. And you're absolutely right, it does have the sand timer. That's a great point. But unfortunately, I would argue that this isn't really a game that you want to be rushing people with if you want the clues and the guesses to actually be good. You're basically forced to slow play unless you're a literary genius that you can just think of just brilliant words on the fly, because it's just naturally going to take a while for you to look over all your cards, look over the options, look over what you don't want and then what you do want, and then on top of that, rack your brain for a good clue to piece it all together. I've usually found that using the sand timer just results in Spy Masters giving out bad clues and making the players do shitty guesses, which isn't really in the spirit of the game if you want to make people feel like thoughtful big brain boys. The timer also encourages Spy Masters to give out clues followed by the number 1, which are the lamest clues to be given. If I just said gun 1 when the only feasible card there is bullet, then like you're just taking away to create a fun part of the game. That's super obvious. The whole reason why you're playing Codenames is so that you can connect different words, i.e. multiple words, in really cool ways. So yeah, the TLDR here is that this game drags on way too much, unless you're playing with a bunch of veterans, but I mean, you can say that about any game you play really fast once you get the hang of it with a bunch of experienced people. So the 15 minutes that is stated on the box is really off, okay? It's more like 25 to 30 minutes, sometimes even more. And for a lot of those 30 minutes, most of it is spent basically not even playing the game. I mean, sure, you can talk about clues you've missed or try to avoid picking words related to the enemy team's clues during that downtime, but there's only so much you can say about what's going on in the game that usually I just find people like just pulling out their phones, just being silent, or just having completely just off-topic casual conversations in the middle of the game. Actually, funny story, I remember at some point at one of the board game clubs I was at, people were straight up like just drawing 2 cards from the deck and trying to come up with a good clue to connect them just to like kill time while they were waiting on the Spy Master.
Oh my god. Okay.
Last con, the cards are really hard to read while they're upside down. And when I mean upside down, I mean when you can read the tan portion of them. Like, I don't know why they couldn't just make one side, you know, this white and black, that's like pretty good, and then the other black and white. All right, that would have been super nice to look at, because you need to make the words immediately obvious to read so that when people glance over, you know, all 25 cards, they can quickly just make a decision. I distinctly remember hearing a lot of people saying, wait, I can't really see that too well when I was playing this game at college. And I never really noticed it back then, but now when I look back at it, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I got that comment a lot. You know, oftentimes this just gets mitigated by making the tan side of the cards face the Spy Master, who's typically more experienced and is usually closer to the cards.
Ashton, come in. It's time for the recommender score.
Yeah. All right, so what the recommender score is an objective score that we're trying to recommend to board game players. We're trying to be the most objective about it to recommend to all ages.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So for Codenames, I really think that this game inarguably is just very easy to pick up and play. We really have to give it props for that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it has a very flexible player count, anywhere from 4 to 12 or whatever the hell it works.
People can just come in, man. It doesn't even matter. You just come in, come out. It's all cool, man.
Yeah. It really has those moments where like you feel so smart. You put all the clues together. You feel like a genius.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, you can feel like an absolute fucking idiot if you get some shit wrong. Like, oh god, if you can't think of a clue, you're just like, it feels horrible.
Yeah, I feel on that one. But there's endless replayability. Like, dude, there's so many cards that are double-sided. It's great.
My god, there's just so much content here. But with all that content, there's so much stuff that it drags on. Oh my god, this downtime is bad.
Yeah, dude, I literally just sit around and do nothing a lot of the time. I can totally feel on that.
Yeah, and that downtime is the worst kind of downtime. It's the type that people aren't even doing anything type of downtime, like nothing's going on. But yeah, basically the thing about Codenames is that the core gameplay, really good, solid. You're having a great time when you're actually getting to guess and think of clues and just doing things. But the instant you're inactive and you're not doing anything every day, it just falls apart.
Yeah, Codenames is just one of those rare party games that doesn't involve much talking, but it's going to be a good time for a lot of board games that are out there.
Exactly. So with that, we're going to have to give this game a 7 out of 10. So it's a good game.
Roger that.
So, it's time for my personal score of Codenames. So for me personally, I would rate this game a 4 out of 10. I like the core gameplay of Codenames. It feels great to be the Spy Master, thinking real hard about that perfect clue, or even being the player who has to think real hard about what words belong to the clue. However, there's just so much downtime in a way that just kind of results in this awkward silence while you're playing the game, and I am not down with that at all. I'd like this game a whole lot more if just more stuff was going on in general, but really only a fourth of the game is actually spent doing your roles thing, right? Because the game is basically split into red Spy Master, red players, blue Spy Master, blue players. You basically spend like 70% of the game just waiting. And on top of all that, Decrypto exists, which basically has ruined this game for me. I have way more fun playing Decrypto since it has a fraction of this game's downtime and has much more player interaction while also letting players get away with way more creative clues. So yeah, Codenames for me at least is going to be below average. It's a game that should really be an 8 or a 9 just because of the concept alone. If it was just nothing but you doing the thinking and doing the guessing, it'd be great. The wordplay is amazing here, but the downtime of how it actually plays out in the existence of Decrypto just slaughters this game. The only time I'd ever want to play this game is immediately after a really heavy game, not to play Codenames, but just to be chill. So we can all wind down, have some conversations while Codenames just kind of happens in the background. Like, yeah, that's how much downtime there is in this game. Like, I mean, there's some intense thinking going on here and there, but, you know, only for like a quarter of the game, so it's like not even really playing the game.
Now it's time for my personal score of Codenames. I'm not the biggest fan of games that force you to be silent in awkward ways. When we're forced to be silent, I want it to be entertaining, strategic, or funny. Codenames does none of that, and is going to get a 3 out of 10 from me. Much of the game is spent waiting on the other team, or your clue giver to give out good clues. The clue giver's job is way too stressful, with so many factors to account for. You have 10 to 12 words to look at, not including the enemy teams, and you can only use one word to give a clue. This ends up with most clue givers giving out clues for 2 cards, or even just maybe even 1 to play it safe. Creativity is limited by the insane amount of decision making, time constraints, and the harsh punishment for your team misinterpreting clues. I bought into the hype and I wanted to like this game, and it's so accessible, but I find myself so bored much of the time and also disagreeing with my own team on so many decisions. When winning, it doesn't feel like your team did better, it just felt like you had easier cards or the other team just messed up. Sure, you can play this game with so many different groups due to its accessibility and time length, but I really can't see Grandma giving out good clues when faced with 25 words and a 1-minute timer. Codenames fails in the party game category, where it does not really cause laughter, but it also fails in the competitive category, where there are so many oh shoot moments or just pure silence. Gamers who say that everyone enjoys this game bought into some crazy hype, where in reality, in this game, most people are just sitting and waiting. The barrier to entry is so low that I guess people are engaged with this game, if engaged means pointing to a word every minute or so, then shrinking back to stare into the abyss. People say that you need to know the person really well to give good clues. Well, first of all, that kills this game in any non-intimate setting. But there's also so many other clue-giving games like Taboo or even Monikers that allow you to have actual clues and actually cause laughter. If non-gamers are being introduced to this game by gamers, I feel really bad for them. Codenames is such a fake interpretation of what board games can really be like. 3 out of 10, I think this is a bad game.
So basically, Codenames was the big breakout word party game for board gamers that really just sat well with the board game community for pushing all of their buttons just right. And while I can't deny that the wordplay here is pretty sick, we here at Shelfside ultimately don't like how much this game promotes sitting around and doing nothing. If you are looking for a chill game to kick back with and play without much talking or constant thinking, I definitely would recommend Codenames. But if you're someone who likes party games that really put the party in the game, I'd stay the hell away from this one. Basically, I ain't touching this game with a 10-foot stick if I need something to play with my family or any of my more normal, non-nerdy friends. So that's gonna be it for our Codenames review. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you all on the next review. Goodbye.